Hello. Today we're running through a quick base plan, a quick starting point for a financial forecast for a client of ours who has kindly allowed us to use her data and her anonymised information to help others see the work that we do. This is a client, a lady called Jane, who sadly lost her husband, who was a policeman. She has two young children, teenagers, aged 14 and 15, and she is aged 50. This is the starting point of the plan, and this is where we input all of the information. At the starting point, we look at what income is coming in. So Jane is a teacher. She's employed on £45,000 a year. However, she's never been part of the teacher's pension. She's always opted out. Alongside this, Jane has some emergency cash holdings. She wouldn't feel comfortable having anything less than 25,000 in cash. She also has some additional cash at 55,000 and some inherited investment ISAs that were mostly saved up by her husband. She loves the main residence, the family home, and she hopes that it will be the home for life. And thankfully, Jane's husband did have a sizable amount of life insurance, both personal and through the police, which allowed her to pay off any debt. So she doesn't have any debts at all. She also inherited a large money purchase pension, a normal asset-backed invested pension, and she has an inherited police pension, an income of £4,200 per year, which will increase in line with inflation. She does make contributions to her state pension via her national insurance contributions, and we're going to ensure that is maximised moving forward. Whilst in work, she has total costs of around about £45,000 a year. And the things that we spent a large amount of time talking about were the goals and objectives that she has for the remainder of her life and for her children's. And a lot of these are based around her children. She wants both her daughter and son to go to university, and she wants to be able to help fund them to around about £7,500 a year whilst they're there. She has a retirement spending goal of £35,000 a year, which is not a million miles off her spending at the moment. The only major objective she's got for herself is a round the world trip, which she would love to take at retirement. She wants to save for and assist her son and daughter with their weddings, and she's allocated £20,000 to this. And her late husband really wanted to ensure that they could get on the housing ladder. It was a focus here, and so they want to allocate £25,000 each to doing this. So when we started talking, we run through the plan settings, so the assumptions that we make in the plan. We have everything growing, so all of those costs will increase. All of those milestone goals, the amounts that we've set for those, they're going to increase at 2.25%, which is generally CPI. We've got cash growing at 1.5%, and Jane is a cautious investor, and we've got her investments growing at 4% net of all costs. There's other factors that we can touch on. This can lead forward to a look at the timeline of her life. So we have the start now, age 50, and then we have her death at age 98. There is a 7% chance of her living past that, and we can look at scenarios where she does live longer. These are some of these events, these life events you can see over here, and they're allocated to different people. The different people have different colours on the plan, and we can see here there's lots of helping out children, retirement over here, and with the retirement we also have the round the world trip. And the system will then allocate these different plans, and it will look at how close they are to completion. And we can see it's looking pretty good. All of the milestone objectives have been hit, and the retirement objective is 73% fulfilled. This is also shown on this graph, and the 73% fulfilled means that from her retirement she runs out of capital to support that retirement when she's 84. Looking at this, we can go into detail as to where the income comes from. If I just take all of this away, this black line here shows Jane's total expenditure every single year of her life, and lots of those different, the house deposits make it jump up here. Two different house deposits. We've got weddings over here. We have retirement and university fees here, and a round the world trip here. They're allocated to these little dots down here. And the general trend is upwards, and this is because we increase costs in line with inflation to make sure that you're not getting poorer year by year. And so we can start to build out each of these years, each of these whole columns, by looking at where the income's going to come from. So while she's working, the majority of her income comes from employment. We can be pretty confident as to those numbers. We also can be pretty confident with regards to state pension and the assessment of that. We know that the the police inherited pension is going to pay out during this period. And then we look to spend savings and investments cash first, and spend up this cash before jumping towards investments or pensions. And then for the majority of the rest of the time, we can see we have the money purchase pensions here. And this takes us all the way through to show the overall and get back to this graph here where the shortfall can be seen from age 85 onwards. Now, originally there's lots of ways we can talk about managing this. When Jane is 85, if we look at this next graph, it doesn't mean that she has no assets because she still has the main residence. This purple area here is the main residence. And so should she wish, at any one of these years, she could sell the main residence, release more capital and live off that. However, she does, we discussed this is something that she would much prefer is passed to her children. And so what we wanted to do was look at ways in which we can plug this shortfall. And the system can look at this. We can look at an annual savings requirement. So between now and retirement, how much more does Jane need to save each year to plug the gap? And using all of the same analyses, we can see it's £12,305. So £1,000 a month's worth of saving will mean that this gap can be plugged. The difference is that we have more growth over here going into pensions where the bulk of the savings will go, and they last longer, and then the system sets it so it runs out at the end of the plan on her 98th birthday. We also have some other insights here. If realistically that saving is not feasible, then what rate of return do we need to generate in the investments to plug this gap in another way? Do we need to take a higher level of risk? And what we can see here is instead of the 4% return that we have estimated, we need to generate more like 5%. And that may mean moving from a cautious investment vehicle up to a medium risk investment vehicle. And these are the two initial ways that we can look at things. There's one other where we could say, well, let's look instead at how much can I spend rather than my objective spending. What's the maximum I can spend in retirement and not run out of money? And this is reduced now down to 33,000, just over 33,000. So there's many ways in which you can use a system to give some insights as to what the future looks like and actions that you can take. we would build out, or we have built out, a number of what if scenarios to look at those additional savings, to look at a shaped effect on income, and look at the different ways in which we can plan this out. Hopefully this has been of use and it gives a snapshot as to the work we do. If there's anything else that you want to understand or hear about from Beckett's, please just pick up the phone and give us a call on 01253 881 910, or even better, send us an email at info@beckettsfs.co.uk. Thank you very much.